My name is Rick Ullman, and I've been hauling freight long distance mostly through the Midwest, those endless interstate stretches cutting across Illinois, Iowa, and Nebraska. After more than 15 years on the job, I know every truck stop, every parking lot, every roadside diner like the back of my hand. There's one place I used to stop at more than any other, an old rest area called Crossroads Travel Plaza, out on the edge of a small town near the Iowa-Illinois border. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was clean enough, with hot showers, a diner open around the clock, and a big parking lot where you could actually get a decent night's sleep before hitting the road again. That night was late November, bitterly cold, with a fierce north wind whipping hard enough to rock the cab. I was running a load from Chicago down to Omaha, got a late start, and didn't pull into Crossroads until well past 1 in the morning. I'd already planned it out in my head. Park the rig, grab a bowl of hot soup, take a quick shower, then crash until dawn. But as soon as I turned off the highway into the entrance, I knew something was seriously wrong. The lot that was usually lit up with neon signs was pitch black. Not a single light was on. I slowed down, my headlights sweeping across the main building. The windows were boarded up from the inside. The fuel pumps had been completely removed, leaving just bare concrete posts sticking out of the ground. The Crossroads Travel Plaza sign hung crooked, one side torn off and lying on the dirt. The wind howled through the boarded-up gaps, making this eerie creaking sound like nails scraping across wood. I stopped the truck right there in the entrance and just sat for a few seconds, staring. It had to be closed for good. I'd heard vague rumors a few months back about the owner drowning in debt, but I never figured it had shut down this fast. My phone had spotty signal, and when I checked the map, the next closest stop was almost 70 miles away, way too far to push on when my eyes were already burning from fatigue. No real options left. I pulled out onto the shoulder of the main highway, parked as close to the edge as I could, about 100 yards from the old Crossroads site, where there was at least a little glow from the distant interstate lights. I shut off the engine, locked both doors tight, drew all the curtains across the cab, flicked on the small reading light, and tried to settle into the sleeper berth for the night. The wind kept howling outside, and every now and then another rig would roar past, its headlights flashing through the curtain gaps before vanishing into the dark. I lay there with my eyes closed, but my mind wouldn't shut off. That feeling of being completely alone out in the middle of nowhere, right next to what was now just a ruined shell of a place. It gnaws at you in a way that's hard to shake. Maybe half an hour passed or longer since I was starting to drift off when I heard it. Acres slowly crunching into the gravel lot behind my trailer. The sound of tires on loose stones carried clear through the quiet night. It pulled up and stopped, engine still idling low. I froze, heart picking up speed. Maybe another driver who'd made the same mistake I did, thinking the place was still open, and now realizing the truth. Then a man's voice cut through the night, low but clear enough to hear over the glass and the wind. "Hey." It was deep, raspy. Not the kind of friendly greeting you'd expect. More like someone calling out to a person they figured was asleep. I didn't respond, just stayed perfectly still, peering through a tiny slit in the rear curtain. In the right side mirror, I caught sight of an old dark-colored pickup angled in behind my trailer, maybe 20 yards back. No police lights, nothing that looked like a fellow trucker's rig. Just two dim yellow headlights beaming straight into the back of my load. "Hey, buddy." This time a little louder, and then the sound of a door creaking open. I watched a figure step out, tall, built solid, wearing a hooded sweatshirt pulled up over his head. He stood there for a few seconds, staring right at my cab like he knew damn well someone was inside. A wave of dread hit me like ice water. I quietly slid forward into the driver's seat, hand hovering over the ignition key. The pickup's engine was still running, but the guy started walking toward me, slow and deliberate steps crunching on the gravel. As he got closer, the glow from his own headlights lit up his face, thick beard. Deep-set eyes looked to be in his 40s or so. A twisted grin spread across his mouth when he realized I was watching him. I turned the key hard. The Kenworth's engine roared to life, highlights glowing red. The guy flinched, then suddenly bolted straight at the passenger door. I shifted into gear and started rolling, but he was unnaturally fast. In seconds he was there, left hand grabbing the passenger door handle, right fist pounding on the window like thunder. "Open the door, let me in." His voice was full-on frantic now. Nothing quiet about it anymore. I floored the accelerator, the heavy rig lumbering forward slowly. He kept pace, hanging on tight, feet scrambling to stay balanced. Then he leapt up onto the step rail, body pressed flat against the door. The window shuddered under blow after blow. I heard the glass crack then shatter completely. Shards rained into the cab, scattering across the seat. But right then, the truck hit enough speed. A pothole jolted the whole rig hard. He lost his grip, slipped, and flew off, tumbling across the asphalt in a heap. I didn't look back long. Just a quick glance in the mirror. He lay still for a moment, then slowly pushed himself up, staring after my truck as it disappeared into the night. I drove almost 20 more miles before I dared pull over at a well-at-rest area with lights blazing and a handful of other rigs parked. Hands shaking, I dialed 911. State troopers showed up after nearly an hour to patrol cars with flashing lights illuminating the whole abandoned crossroads area. They found shattered glass scattered on the road, a few small blood spots, probably from the attacker's hand when the window gave. But no pickup truck, no strange tire tracks, no clear footprints leading into the lot. Like the guy had just melted into thin air. The young trooper taking my statement asked if I'd been drinking or maybe imagined it all. I told him to check the dashcam footage. It captured everything clear as day. The pickup pulling in, the figure charging, the pounding, the glass exploding. He nodded, but his eyes still looked skeptical. Later, when I mentioned it at another truck stop, an older driver at the next table overheard and leaned in. Crossroads, huh? That place shut down last summer. Word was there were some weird incidents before it closed. Drivers sleeping overnight, hearing knocks on their doors, waking up to nobody there. One guy even swore he saw a bearded man lurking around his rig. But the cameras never caught a face. On the Midwest Long Haul Drivers Association bulletin board, there's a faded yellow flyer pinned up: WARN ING area near Crossroads Travel Plaza closed. Multiple reports of unknown individuals approaching trucks at night. Do not park alone at this location. I never doctor past there again, even if it means taking a longer route. Every time it crosses my mind, I still get chills over one little detail on the passenger seat amid all that broken glass. There was a tiny scrap of paper smeared with blood, like it had been shoved through the window crack just before it shattered. Just a few scrawled words in shaky handwriting: next time, open the door. I turned that note over to the police. They kept it as evidence. But the case is still open. No suspects, no witnesses. If I'd been just a few seconds slower that night, I probably wouldn't be here telling this story today. My name is Dale Whitaker, and I pull a semi for a big logistics outfit out of Phoenix, Arizona. My specialty is those hot-shot runs. The kind where the customer demands delivery on time no matter what, even if it means driving straight through the night. This load was a batch of sensitive electronic components from a plant in Tucson, Arizona, all the way up to a distribution center in Salt Lake City, Utah, over 800 miles of desert and jagged rock mountains. The company cleared me to run it non-stop overnight to beat the heat and hit the morning deadline. It was mid-July, and the air was still stifling hot even though the clock had crept past 11. I'd left Tucson at 9 p.m. A lonely stretch that slices through the southeastern Utah Badlands. Nothing but red sand, withered scrub brush, and black silhouettes of jagged ridges under a thin crescent moon. At night this section is damn near empty. Every once in a while, a pickup would flash by in the opposite lane and disappear into the void. I had the AC cranked full blast, the radio playing low-volume country tunes, and a thermos of thick black coffee in my hand to stay sharp. Around 11:15, out on the longest straightaway, no street tilted, no gas stations, no signs for 100 miles, my CB radio suddenly erupted in harsh static. I was tuned to channel 19, the emergency channel truckers used to chat or call for help. At that hour, it's usually dead quiet. I was about to switch channels when a voice broke through the noise, faint and brief, almost a whisper. Help me. A middle-aged man's voice, hoarse and strained like he was forcing the words out with everything he had. Then nothing, just endless white static. I went rigid, knuckles whitening on the steering wheel. A chill crawled up my spine despite the cold air pouring from the vents. Out here at night, nobody messes around on channel 19, and that voice didn't sound like some radio prank. I keyed the mic right away. Breaker. This is Whitaker northbound on 191, around mile marker 180th. Where are you, buddy? You okay? Silence. I called twice more, voice getting louder each time. Still nothing but static. I eased off the gas, dropping below 80, eyes locked on the road, headlights pushed to high beam. Heart pounding harder now. Could be another driver in trouble, breakdown, out of fuel, or worse, stroke, heart attack. Cell service is spotty as hell out here. CB is the only lifeline in the desert. About 15 minutes later, my headlights caught something big dead ahead in my lane. An older dark blue Peterbilt semi, parked crooked, nose pointed the same direction as me, blocking most of the right lane. No taillights, no hazard flashers, no headlights. It was in a deadly spot. Any rig barreling through the dark at speed could slam right into the back without time to brake. I hit the brakes hard, tires skidding a little on the warm asphalt, stopping about 50 yards short. I flipped on my amber hazard lights, grabbed my flashlight, CB handset, and phone, then climbed down from the cab. The desert wind hit my face like a furnace, carrying the smell of dust and diesel. As I got closer, I shouted, "Hey, you all right in there? I heard you calling for help on 19. Anybody inside?" No answer. Just the wind whistling through cracks in the driver's door, creaking faintly as it swung. The driver's door was wide open. I aimed the flashlight beam inside, pulse hammering in my ears. Everything looked like the driver had just stepped away seconds ago. An old denim jacket hung loose behind the seat. A paper coffee cup sat in the holder, half full. Faint steam still rising in the flashlight glow. The CB handset dangled from its hook by the wheel, cord plugged in tight. Transmit button still engaged like he'd just let go. On the passenger seat, a folded paper map open to Utah. A pencil laid across Highway 191st. The cab radio was on low, playing Willie Nelson's On the Road Again. The tune felt downright teary in that moment. But there was no driver. Not in the seat, not in the sleeper berth behind the curtain, not under the rig, not around the trailer. I swept the light all around. No skid marks on the asphalt, no footprints in the roadside sand, no drag marks, no blood, no signs of a struggle or crash. The trailer was still sealed tight, locks and seals intact. I stood there a few seconds, dread rising from my gut to my throat. The quiet was unnatural. No desert insects chirping, no strong wind anymore. Just my own breathing and that faint country music drifting out. I called again, voice cracking a little. "Where are you? Come on out." Still nothing. Instinct screamed to get the hell away. I turned and jogged back to my truck, locked the doors, fired up the engine, and eased around the abandoned Peterbilt. Tires hugged the sandy shoulder, inches from its rear. As I passed the open cab one last time, I glanced over the coffee still steaming, the song still playing, like it was all waiting for the owner to come back, finish his drink, and roll on. I drove another 50 miles before I got steady cell service near a small rest area. Called 911 immediately. Gave the exact GPS coordinates and every detail. Utah Highway Patrol and State Police arrived after more than an hour. 2 cruisers with flashing lights turning that empty stretch into daylight. They found the rig exactly as I described. Door open, everything untouched. Engine still warm like it had only been shut off recently. The coffee was still hot when they checked, but no trace of the driver. No ID. No wallet. No personal phone. Just registration papers for a small Nevada freight company. And records showed the assigned driver was Carl Reyes, 52 years old, a veteran independent hauler. My dash cam caught it all clear: the abandoned truck, open door, me checking around, then pulling away. They took a copy for evidence. The report listed it as driver missing under mysterious circumstances. The rig was towed. The load delivered on time. Carl Reyes was never found. No body, no clues, no witnesses. A few weeks later, stopping at a big truck stop near street. George for breakfast. I told the story to some local drivers. Nobody laughed. An old-timer with white hair, pushing 70 at least, listened quietly from the next booth, then spoke up. That stretch of 191 between Arizona and Utah, there have been a handful of cases, just like it, going back to the 90s. Rig parked in the road, door open, coffee still hot, radio playing, driver gone like he'd evaporated. Old-timers call it the desert blind spot. Some guys hear a help call on CB, stop to check, find the empty truck. Others keep driving and make it home fine. He pointed to the diner wall by the door. There was a faded photocopied sheet taped up, edges curling, a list of 6 missing drivers on Highway 191 from 1998 to now. At the bottom, someone had added in handwriting, Carl Reyes, July 2024. I stared at that paper a long time, then walked out without another word. Since then, I turned down any run through that section at night, no matter the overtime pay. Whenever I'm near the Utah Badlands, I switch off Channel 19 before sunset, because I'm terrified that one night, in the static and the desert silence, I'll hear that hoarse, fading whisper again, help me. And this time, I might be the one who stops. My name is Mike Harlan, and I've been running long haul for 22 years now. I've seen it all: blizzards in Montana, dust storms in Texas, fog so thick in the Appalachians you couldn't see your own hood ornament. But nothing ever crawled under my skin like that winter run from Portland, Oregon, down to Bend, Idaho, cutting straight through the Cascades on Highway 20. It was early February, the kind of cold that seeps through steel. Snow had been falling lightly all evening, dusting the pines until the forest looked like a black and white photograph. I like night runs. Fewer cars, open road, just the hum of the engine and Channel 19 crackling with other drivers shooting the breeze. I'd stopped once around midnight at a little mom-and-pop station on the edge of the woods, fueled up, grabbed a thermos of scalding coffee, and hit the road again. Ahead lay 50 miles of nothing but dense evergreens pressing in on both sides. Branches heavy with snow, headlights carving a narrow tunnel through the dark. About 40 minutes in, I caught movement on the right shoulder. A man, middle-aged, heavy winter coat, standing dead still at the tree line. No vehicle in sight. No breakdown lights. He wasn't waving, wasn't even looking at the road, just staring straight into the forest, like he was waiting for something to come out of it. I let off the gas a touch, Instinct kicking in. Something felt wrong. The way he didn't react to an 80,000-pound rig thundering past. It was unnatural. I told myself it was nothing. Just some local out walking, and pushed the throttle back down. 5 miles later, another figure. This one was closer to the fog linear woman in a pale jacket. Long dark hair hiding most of her face. She stood with her head slightly tilted, as if listening to something I couldn't hear. As my lights washed over her, she turned slowly, deliberately, and looked right up at the cab. Her eyes were wide open, reflecting the high beams like empty glass. No expression. No fear. Just that stare. My skin prickled. I gripped the wheel tighter and kept rolling. But in the mirror I watched her until the darkness swallowed her. Then the road curved gently, and my headlights swept across something lying dead center in my lane. A body. Face down, arms outstretched. Legs straight like someone had been dropped from the sky. Dark clothing, no visible blood, no wrecked car nearby. I slammed the brakes. Air horns hissed, trailer tires locked and smoked. The rig shuddered to a stop 10 feet short. Snowflakes swirled in the beams, landing on the motionless form. Every warning I'd ever heard over the CB screamed in my head, don't stop. Don't get out. It's a trap. Stories of feral groups living deep in the national forests, people who'd gone off-grid years ago, surviving by ambushing lone drivers. They used decoys, fake accidents, fake victims. You stop to help. You never drive away. I sat frozen, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my teeth. Mirrors showed nothing but black walls of trees on both sides. No movement. No sounds except the tick of the cooling engine and my own breathing. Then the body moved. Slowly. Impossibly, it pushed itself up on its arms. Head turned toward me, face pale. Eyes sunken and black in the headlights. It rose to its feet without using its hands, like something uncoiling. And it smiled. That was when they came. Shadows detached from the trees, 5, 6. Maybe more figures sprinting out of the darkness on both sides. Silent. Fast. Too fast. Hooded coats, faces obscured by scarves or shadows. They fanned out across the road behind me, cutting off retreat. I threw the truck into gear and punched it. The Kenworth lunged forward, tires spinning on ice before biting. I clipped the standing figure as I swerved. He flew sideways into the ditch without a sound. In the mirrors, the others chased for 100 yards, keeping pace in a way no human should, before vanishing back into the trees like they'd never been there. I didn't slow down. 85 on winding mountain road slick with snow. Jake brake howling on the downgrades. But they weren't finished. 10 miles later, headlights caught an old pickup angled across both lanes, hazards blinking weakly. 2 men stood beside it, waving arms frantically, one holding what looked like a flashlight, signaling distress. I didn't touch the brakes. I aimed straight for the narrow gap on the shoulder, snow exploding against the windshield as I scraped past. I saw them drop the act instantly. No more waving. Just standing still, watching me go. That's when the sound started. Soft at first, a faint scratching along the passenger door like fingernails dragging across metal. Then knocking. Slow. Deliberate. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps again. I glanced out the window, nothing but flying snow and black trees. But the knocking kept perfect pace with the truck. Then came the laughter. Low, muffled, coming from inside the trailer. Multiple voices. Childlike. Giggling like they just heard the best joke. I checked the seals in the mirror intact. Locks still fastened. Nothing could be in there. But the laughter rose and fell with every curve, as if whatever was making it was shifting weight inside. I tried the CB. Dead static. No signal this deep in the mountains. Found no bars. I was alone. The road twisted on forever. Every straight stretch, I expected another body. Every curve, another blocked vehicle. Snow fell heavier now, reducing visibility to 50 feet. I drove half blind, sweat soaking my shirt despite the freezing cab. Finally, after what felt like hours, the trees began to thin. A faint glow appeared ahead, town lights. I rolled into the first truck stop I saw. A small shell station with a dozen rigs parked under bright floods. I pulled in, set the brakes, and just sat there shaking, staring at the mirrors. Nothing followed me out of the woods. I called state police from the payphone inside. They came, took my statement, walked a rig with flashlights. Found nothing. No scratches on the doors. No footprints in the snow around the trailer. The officer, an older trooper with tired eyes, just nodded when I finished. We get reports on that stretch every few years, he said quietly. Drivers gone. Rigs found empty. Engines still worn. Coffee half drunk. We never find bodies. Locals say the forest takes what it wants. 2 days later, back home, I saw the news. Another trucker had vanished on Highway 20 that same night. Same make and model as mine. Same color. Even the same mud flap missing on the right rear. The article included a grainy photo of the abandoned rig doors open. Headlights still on, sitting exactly where I'd seen that body in the road. I haven't taken that route since. Not day, not night. Doesn't matter the pay. And sometimes, when I'm running empty through any dark stretch of timber, I still hear its off scratching along the door. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. And that faint, childlike laughter drifting from the back of an empty trailer. Like something's riding along, patient, waiting for the next time I have to drive through the deep woods alone.